Are good to go. Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Jason Onesto, and I am the Assistant Director of New Student Programs here at the University of Richmond. I am joined by a number of panelists who I will let introduce themselves here in just a second. Just a quick little housekeeping note for you. You will notice that at the bottom of your screens, you should be able to see a Q&A box of sorts. If you would like to utilize this function throughout the webinar, we will be happy to field questions as we kind of go along with the content that we have to go through this evening. However, there will also be some time at the end for us to answer all the questions that we would like to save for that as well. Just wanted to go ahead and share that with you all. I'm going to go ahead and hand things off to our panelists to introduce themselves. Joe.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Bowman. I'm the Dean of Richmond College. I've been here at the university for 18 years. The two of us, Dean Giannone and myself, are going to tell you a little bit about what the college deans do. Really, essentially, what we are is that we're here to support you throughout your time, from the first day you walk on campus all the way through graduation. We're here to support your academic success as well as your personal growth as we go through. So I'm going to leave it at that and pass it on.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dean Mia Reynoso Giannone. I am the Dean of West Hampton College. This is my 10th year as Dean here, although I also taught here in 2005, 2007 in art history. My pronouns are she, her, and we'll have a little bit of time later to go on with a little bit more detail about us, and I'm just looking forward to getting to know everybody.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Hoogsteden. I'm the Assistant Director of Programming within the Center for Student Involvement. My pronouns are she, her. And I supervise our student programming board, Spider Board, that puts on a series of programs throughout the fall and spring semester, and a little bit more on those later.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joy Heinzman, and I serve as the Director of Residence Life and Residence Life. I'll probably be joined by my partner, Taylor Walsh, who is the Director of Housing. Together, we do all things related to your students living on campus.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy Conley. I'm a rising senior at the University of Richmond, a double major in rhetoric and communication studies and leadership studies. Can't believe it's going to be my senior year, but I'm here tonight to provide a student perspective. And I'm also serving as an orientation leader this year for our new Spider orientation. So very happy to be here.
Alrighty, thank you all. For our folks joining us who are coming in a little later, again, my name is Jason Onesto. I'm the Assistant Director of New Student Programs here at the University of Richmond. To give you an idea of where we're going in conversation this evening, so our deans are going to talk a little bit more about their roles and kind of some things that we have here in place at the institution. We'll hand things off to our residence life and housing friends who are going to give you a little bit more information about pre-arrival things to note, things to know for your move-in processes, and some more information about what you can expect upon your arrival. We will then go through a little overview of our orientation schedule and some orientation schedule logistics before going into what some programming will look like in our first 6 weeks here on campus, and then giving you some time to ask questions as you have them. So there's that for right now. Without further ado, I'm going to hand things right back to the deans.
Okay, so I spoke a little bit about, in a very broad sense, is that we're here for your academic success as well as your personal growth. The role of the college deans at the University of Richmond is a little bit different than what you would have at any other college or most other colleges. Is that we do the typical dean of students thing that you would see at any other college, but our role is really the larger percentage of our role is dealing with the academic success, and that comes from the long history of the colleges. And at one time, we were the dean of the students as well as the dean of the faculty. Not us, but our predecessors. I haven't been here that long. But our role is really to help and support you with any question or concern that you might have. So part of the culture here at the university is that if a student has a concern, or if there's a faculty member has a concern about a student or a peer, they reach out to the dean's offices and say, I'm concerned about somebody. So, if you have an interaction with us in a lot of respects, it's really not because you're in trouble. And I think that's one of the big fallacies that folks have about the dean's office, is that you go to the dean's office when you're in trouble. The reality is you come to our office when you're having trouble, when you're struggling with academics, when something's going on with adjustment, when you're having a tough time with something going on at home and trying to figure out homesickness and stuff like that. That's the main role why we're here. Dean Janone, you want to pick up from there?
Absolutely. So one of the things we like to share is that the strength of our system really is that the academic and everything beyond are totally intertwined, right? So it's never the case, for instance, that you're struggling in your math class and it's not affecting you outside of your classroom, right? Or that you have mono or a family emergency and that's not affecting you in the classroom, right? So I don't understand how other schools split it up. I love that we do it this way, right? So we are your one-stop shop. You might come in on your own because you're having some difficulties in math or whatever it is. It might be that the professor reaches out to us, which is normal and supportive, right? The whole point is that they care about you. It's not about telling on you or anything like that, right? Or maybe your friend has reached out. There's all different reasons why. Also, maybe you just want some mentorship. It doesn't have to be just because of a crisis or a concern. You might want to be talking through a major. You might want to be just you've spoken to us and you think that there's something about us that we might be able to help you with, right? So we are the head deans of our colleges, but each of us also have 3 other deans, and the 8 of us together are able to handle all these different things. Basically, whatever you need support with, you can come to us, and we can also let you know about other resources, right? Like we can put you in touch with the counseling service. Like so we do many things, and we also work closely with our many wonderful colleagues. The other thing to know about the deans is that we're also in charge of building community, right? So you got the letters from Dean Bowman and myself yesterday, right? So we talked about proclamation and investiture. Those are some of our traditions that build community and welcome you. We also do small things in Richmond. They do Cup of Joe pop-ups where you can go and hang out with them and get some coffee. I love Halloween and Valentine's Day, so we do stuff on those days, right? So just fun things to bring you in, make you feel comfortable, give you some love, especially in October, which is a rough month, and February, which is a rough month. We also oversee the 3 branches of student government, right? So we have individual responsibilities and cares and community-based things as well. And then I will hand it off to Jason for the next lucky contestant.
Beautiful. Thank you, Deans. I'm actually going to carry the torch right on over to Joy Heinzman, who will share a little bit more about our housing and residence life perspective in this webinar.
All right, so just trying to get a picture up here for you all to look at for some important dates. As many of you all know that we have our move-in coming up with our move-in dates on August 17th and August 20th. So just to kind of prepare you a little bit before you arrive on campus, we always encourage you to try to reach out and connect with your roommate before you get on campus. Many people like to coordinate what they're getting for their room so you don't have like 2 of everything because those rooms are big, but they get really small when 2 people are living in there. And want to encourage you just to start building a relationship with your roommate so you're set off on a good foot. Our resident assistants are actually arriving, some of them on campus later this week and the rest of them on Sunday. The resident assistants are a great resource once you have come to campus, get to know them. They're kind of like your student person to connect to. Or like, I don't know how to do this. And they might, recommend going to the deans or getting connected to different events on campus. But they're really here just to help all students transition, learn what campus is like, what do they do, how do I get to the gym, what's this app that I need to know. All of the REs are going to be really helpful in those things. Regarding move-in, we have asked all of our students to sign up for a specific time slot. And you can sign up for your time slot through our StarRes portal, and you can adjust this time slot through August 13th. This time slot is a 30-minute period in which you will be checking in and receiving your URID, your Spider card that will give you access to your room. So it's not like you have to get all of your stuff in your room within that 30 minutes. That time slot is really just for you to come and get your ID to help us manage your traffic flow. If you arrive outside of your time slot, please be prepared that you might be turned away and said you need to come back at your time slot. Again, we are just trying to manage the flow of traffic through our buildings and through the community. So just kind of be respectful of that. Keeps our line short and our process running efficiently. And then once you arrive on campus, as I was talking about for that check-in time, you are really going to need to have some sort of ID with a picture on it so that we know that we are giving the right person the right ID card. We will take driver's license, passports. I think we've taken high school IDs before. Whatever it is, as long as we have that picture ID for you, we'll pass you off some goodies like a welcome bags, maybe some stickers for you guys to come in, and you have the rest of the time to move into your building. Um, our campus, you can park relatively close to your building, but not all of them. So there are support services tents located outside of Laura Robbins Court and outside of Wood Hall. We do have things to help you move your items in, like bins and some dollies. However, most of our buildings don't have elevators, so just be smart when you're packing so you're not packing things that are too heavy to carry up the stairs. Now I'm trying to stop share. There we go.
Amazing. Thank you, Joy. All right, I'm going to take over from here to share a little bit more about New Spider orientation. I see a few of you making use of that Q&A function. Please keep doing that. That's going to be super helpful to help us keep track of questions. So as you have questions, if you don't want to hold on till the end, put them in the chat and we will answer them as soon as we get to it, all right? I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. Beautiful. All right, so some New Spider orientation things for you. So first thing to note is if you scan this QR code, you will be able to access our orientation schedule. Here's the thing about the schedule. I find it easier to navigate it on the app that we have, which once you scan this QR code, you'll be able to access it and it'll probably prompt you to download said app. However, you can access it via desktop, or really whatever electronic device best suits you and kind of where you're at in this moment. I'm going to stay on here for a few seconds so that folks can download what they need to download and scan what they need to scan. But now I'm going to move on. So whenever you go into our orientation schedule via that app or via the link or whichever you would like to use, you will see that these two things. You'll see your events, which is what you have over here on this side. I have it set for Wednesday, August 20th, which is the first day of New Spider orientation. And then you'll see what's called tracks. If you are looking for things that are specific to what is required for students specifically, for what is required for students to be at. If you look at our track section, you'll see there are different groups all listed. And this required button, you're going to want to click this square to make sure that it has been selected. And once you see a little check mark and some sort of indication that required has been selected, you will then see all of the events in New Spider orientation that you are required to be at. In addition, if you look at these events and you click on the events, you will be able to receive an overview of what you can expect. There's a description for the event, who it's intended for, the time, date, and the location of all the things that we have going on. And that's for every single event that we have during New Spider orientation. Some date reminders just to give you an overview. So August 17th, for everyone, if you have been selected to participate in a pre-orientation program, that means you are in Endeavor, an international orientation, or an outdoor adventure Richmond, your move-in date is August 17th. You're going to want to follow the same processes that Joy just explained, and then also whatever information you've received up until this point, and follow those instructions, move in at your appropriate time slot, and we will see you on August 17th. For the rest of my friends who are joining us with the rest of the incoming class, you will move in on August 20th. The daytime of August 20th is reserved, I believe, about 8 to 3 p.m. is reserved for moving in. We will get started with official New Spider orientation programming at 7 p.m. that evening with our university welcome. And then from that point on, you will then go through New Spider orientation up until Saturday, the 23rd. For my family and supporter friends who are on the webinar, if you go into the orientation schedule, one of the things that you will realize is that there are 2 family and supporter sessions. Of these 2 family and supporter sessions, neither one of them are different. They are the same session. The only reason why we offer that session twice is because we have families and supporters who are present for our pre-orientation students who move in early, and then family and supporters who are present for the rest of our friends who join us on August 20th. They're the same session. It's the same content. If you move in on the 17th, if your student moves in on the 17th and you decide to stick around till the 20th or the 21st when you receive that next family and supporter session, you're going to get the same information, which is great. If you feel like you need it repeated and you would like to get a little bit more of an emphasis on some of the things that were shared, please, by all means, we would love to have you there. However, please do not feel as if you are required to be in that space. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, get us back here. That's just a brief overview of what you can expect for New Spider Orientation. All of the details of the schedule are listed in that app. In fact, if you have some trouble accessing that still, please let us know in the Q&A function, and I will be more than happy to share that with you all following the conclusion of the webinar. But to keep things rolling, I'm actually going to hand things off to Taylor Hoogsteden.
Thank you, Jason. So I'm going to talk a little bit about start of the year programs. There's a lot to look forward to kicking off the fall semester. We have at the University of Richmond, we have a whole Weeks of Welcome initiative to welcome new and returning students back to campus. And so that will take place the first 4 weeks of the fall semester. And that's a collaboration between departments all across the university. And there's a wide range of events that aim to build an inclusive spider community for meaningful connections between students and staff and faculty, to connect students with campus tools and resources, and to encourage and foster a sense of spider pride. So as I mentioned during introductions, I supervise our student programming board, Spider Board, and we have 2 events to really kick off the fall semester immediately following orientation. And so I just wanted to plug those events now. There's going to be you could check on the university's website and see the full schedule of Weeks of Welcome events. These will happen the Saturday and Sunday of that first weekend. So on Saturday, August 23rd, there's going to be a movie under the stars over at the football stadium. We're going to be screening Disney's Elemental, and there's going to be themed goodie bags and free blankets for the first 300 students to arrive at that event. And then the following day, we're going to celebrate the last day of summer before classes begin with Spiderboard's annual Last Day of Summer celebration. This is going to take place at 6 p.m. that afternoon, and there will be live music, there'll be free food, there will be lots of giveaways and also inflatables and lots of different fun activities to celebrate the end of the summer. And another event that I'd like to plug is our office's annual Spider Fest. So I'm sure, as an incoming student, there's been a lot of thought given to kind of where you might fit in as far as different clubs and organizations on campus. And so Spider Fest, that will take place September 4th. And that's an excellent opportunity to learn about all the student organizations across campus. I actually am a Richmond alum, and I remember I almost missed Spider Fest for some reason my first year, and then I was so happy I was able to make it, and I went every year following. It's a great way to really stay engaged with the campus community and understand all the different leadership opportunities that exist on campus, which is so many. There's so many incredible ways to get involved, and I would highly encourage any first-year incoming University of Richmond student to attend that. So that's on September 4th from 4 to 7 p.m. And once again, this is all listed under Weeks of Welcome on the University of Richmond's website. But I wanted to shout those out. And then I'll also mention a few other signature events that are taking place as part of our Weeks of Welcome initiative. So that's going to include the Robbins School Business Welcome Back Barbecue, a farmer's market that will take place on campus, the Laura Robbins Gallery reopening, Pups and Pops. There will be different information sessions for students who are looking to get involved in fraternity sorority life. There'll also be a study abroad fair, an LGBTQ plus fall mixer, and the grand opening of the UR Orchard and Food Forest, which will actually feature goats on campus. So I'm really excited about that one. But yeah, if you want to also stay in the loop about all these events, another great way to follow along is following at UR Involved on Instagram and also at UR Spiderboard on Instagram.
Amazing. Thank you, Taylor. Alrighty, before we dive into our Q&A portion, I do want to see if Jimmy's got a little bit to share with us. Jimmy, can you give us some, maybe, I don't know, if you were going to say anything to our incoming students, what should they be most excited for New Spider Orientation?
Absolutely. As you heard, there's a lot of information that you're going to be getting doing during New Spider Orientation. But it's a time that I will always remember. During my first year, I came into the University of Richmond. I didn't know a single student, didn't know anybody, went completely random with my roommate, and it's truly been the best 3 years, and hopefully the best 4 years of my life. I've made great connections. I've taken a hold of numerous leadership opportunities. I'm currently head intern in our Office of Admission. I'm co-president of our Jepson School of Leadership. I'm serving on Richmond College student government as well with Dean Joe Bowman. So a lot of great opportunities, and none of those could have kind of started without my experiences during New Spider orientation. I enjoyed it so much that I served in my sophomore year as an orientation advisor, then last year as an orientation leader. So my one key piece of advice with New Spider orientation is just take it all in, really be present, get involved as much as possible, participate in those small groups, participate in those icebreakers, because a lot of times those connections that you make will be lifelong connections. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy. We are grateful to have Jimmy as part of our team. Having him on for the past 3 years has been incredible. We're excited for his last one. Jimmy, thanks a bunch, man. All right, with that, I'm going to open us up to our questions. I know we've been filling some in the chat. I'll answer this one on live. So, this question says, when the time comes, in preparation for registration tomorrow, if you all didn't know, self-registration opens up at 9 a.m. tomorrow, August 6th, for all of my students. So, important information, important question. At 9 a.m. Yep. How do you register when several of the preferred classes are full? For example, several sections of several classes that are on the longer list of preferred courses already appear to be full. Do we not register for these classes and search for something or anything that has availability? How do we manage this tomorrow morning, and what happens in terms of drop add? Also, if the student is switching out of the pre-registered class into another class, how does one do it during registration tomorrow morning? So I will speak from my perspective as a summer advisor to incoming students, and then if our folks have some more to add, I think specifically when it comes to add drop, I think that would be really helpful to contribute here. As far as registering for classes that are seem to be already be full, so for some classes, you're able to register on the wait list. So you can register for this class, but only for a wait list seat. For a lot of these, you won't be able to register for anyways. It'll give you an error message saying seats reserved for wait list only. And if that is the case with one of the courses, you will need to. What I've been recommending to my advisees is I would continue to search for a class that does have available seats. Register for those first, and then after you've registered for the classes which there are already seats available, then you can go back and you can try and add a waitlist options for classes that you maybe prefer but we're not able to get into. I'm gonna look towards my deans and then Jimmy if you both have some more perspective to add in this regard.
Yeah, I think Jason hit the high points. A couple of things is that number one, the goal of the exercise is you want to have at least 3.5 units because you need to be at full-time status. So you need that to get that fourth class plus your well 100 sections. So that's also very, really important. The wait list is kind of like flying standby. If you are near the top of the list, there's usually 10 spaces on the wait list. If you're like one or two, you probably have a good shot. If you're down around 8 or 9 or 10, not so much. So you want to keep that in mind. And the last thing that I'll say is that there's no such thing as a wasted unit. Remember that you could always look at things that meet your area of inquiry. At the very least, they're going to meet your electives, and you need to get to 35 units to graduate. So there is no such thing as a wasted unit in my book. So, Dean Giannone or Jimmy?
Yeah, I think the other things to think about are be wary of dropping a class that you're already in. Right. You can register up to 5.5 without having any kind of special permission. So if you only want 3.5, you can keep the class that you're in and try to get into another one. And also be super careful about the FYSs. Those are pretty full. They basically have just enough spaces for the students that we have. So even if you don't love your FYS or think you don't love it, because maybe you actually are going to love it, just be very careful on that one because otherwise you might wind up just having to get into one that happens to have a seat open. So it might be worse for you than keeping the original one. But as a professor of FYS, I'm going to tell you, you're going to love it. That's all I'm saying.
The one key piece of advice that I wanted to give to you guys is that basically every time when registration doesn't go your way, at least in my experience, as long as you're proactive about the wait list and you try to get on wait lists, you express interest in that particular course. I've always been successful in that. That might not be the case for every student at the university, but as long as you're proactive, you get on wait lists, you should be pretty successful with that. So if registration day doesn't go according to plan, don't feel too upset because there are a lot of opportunities to still get into those courses that you're super interested in the semester.
And I saw there's a follow-up question about, do you have a visibility on your position of the wait list? Generally speaking, when you're going to sign up for the class, you can see 8 out of 10 wait list spots are taken. That's the cue that you kind of want to look for. If it says 10 of 10 seats available, then you're in pretty good shape. If it's 2 of 10 seats available, not as much good shape.
Alrighty. More advising questions. Okay, so what happens during the ad drop period? Someone like to take that one?
I got you. We can start. I'd say the number one thing to think about first is that a lot of classes are 5-day ads only. So even though the ad drop itself is 2 weeks, 10 days, many classes you can only add in the first 5 days. And that's because so much gets covered in that first week, basically. So pay close attention to that. And it ends at 5 p.m. on that Friday. So don't drop something thinking that you can add something without checking to make sure if the ad is longer than 5 days. And at this point in time, I would say the vast majority of classes are a 5-day ad. So just pay attention to that piece. You can still drop means it disappears from your record altogether, right? So in the first 2 weeks, if you drop a class, it's as if you were never in it. But do be careful about the ad drop. And there's a function in Banner that allows you to say, I'm only going to add this. I'm only going to drop this if I can add that. And 100% you want to do that. That is technology working for you. I highly recommend it.
Jimmy, go ahead.
As Dean Giannone said, you will see in Bannerweb, it's called, I believe, the conditional ad drop, and you literally just check the box. And I've done it before, and if it's unable to happen, you'll get an error message. So it's rare. It will never happen that conflict will happen in that case.
Yeah, and the last thing, if you do get off the wait list, what happens is that you get contacted by the registrar's office, and I believe you have 24 hours to accept the course. Sorry, 2 days?
I thought it was shorter than 24 hours, but I might be wrong.
Okay. Well, they will give you notification of how long you have. So
you get an email with all the details.
You get an email. They tell you what to do. Just be very mindful of it and don't sit on it. So that's my canned piece of advice to every student. Check your Richmond email. That's the way that we communicate around here. Don't expect a text message because it's not going to happen. So check your email. Check it frequently.
All right, I got this next one, I think. So this next question, will the system allow you to register for 2 classes, in the same section? For example, register for 2 LAIS classes and then drop one if you get into both. Yes, it will. So my biggest advice is to go ahead and register for whatever class you can get into, just like I mentioned earlier. If you need to, for that second option, you can register for 2 sections for the same class, or two different sections for the same class, but you're going to register for one and essentially you'll waitlist the other. If for some reason, just like Dean Bowman just shared, if spot opens up with a waitlist, you will receive an email from the registrar letting you know that seat has opened up and what you need to do to take action and during what amount of time you will need to take that action. So register for whatever you're able to get into first, and then go back, add that second section that you're interested in or your preferred section as a waitlist option if it's applicable. Alrighty. This question says, what about the conditional drop feature on the registration portal? What does that do? I have a course at 10:30 on Tuesday, Thursdays that I'm registered for, which I'm looking to directly swap with another course. Is that related to the conditional feature? Dean Giannone, would you like to say a little bit more about that?
Yes, and then Jimmy, if you want to chime in, because you've probably actually done it, whereas I have just advised on it, as I do not attend the University of Richmond. So yes, obviously you can't take a class at the same time. So certainly if you want to make that switch, but primarily it's to ensure that you don't lose Class A until you're sure you can get Class B. That's the fundamental function of that. Jimmy, anything you want to add on?
No, that's perfect. Like Dean Giannoni said, it's really making sure that you kind of keep those units you've already registered for, and that if the class is more interested, that you're more interested in, or something that you need a lot more for graduation, that you can apply that without there being sort of a conflict.
All right, Jimmy, you cut out a little bit on my end. Do you mind repeating that just to make sure that our recording catches all that you said?
Absolutely. So, like Dean Giannoni said, that really deals with you still keeping those units that you've already registered for. But if a class arises that you're more interested in or something that you need, particularly for graduation, you can make that without a conflict ensuing.
All right, let's see what else we got. All right, I see. Do you recommend purchasing textbooks before arriving on campus or after you have started classes? Jimmy, take it away, brother.
This is a question that we get a lot. I would say wait until after the first week of classes every single time. A lot of times, professors may have textbooks on their syllabi that they don't use anymore, and it's on an old syllabi. There's a lot of cases that you can get an online version or a free version of a textbook. And what I always do is I go to the Spider Shop right on campus, and a lot of times you can rent one of the textbooks or buy them for a much cheaper price than they would be on Amazon, for example. So always wait, especially too if you get into a class and you end up dropping it. You don't want to buy the books for that class and then end up having that conflict there.
I would also just say that you should also be prepared that some professors aren't going to open their Blackboard with their syllabus until at earliest the first week of classes, and maybe even the day of your class. So you may not even know, and don't worry, that's okay.
Perfect. All right. Um, this one's kind of similar to what we've received, but in case we have more to share with it, if you want to switch sections for the two different classes, can you do the conditional add drop at the same time, or do you need to do one first and submit and then the other?
I believe it's one first and then the other. I might be wrong on that, but that's what I think.
Okay. And if you do have questions, you can also contact your summer advisor or your peer academic advisor, and they should be able to help you figure that out as well if you run into some trouble tomorrow morning. All righty. What else do we have? So it says, I was told by my summer peer advisor that the maximum units I can take is 4.5, but Dean Giannoni just said it is a 5.5. Just looking for some clarification here. Dean Giannoni.
Why don't you start with what summer advisors say, and then I'll clarify my part.
Perfect. So there is a recommended number of hours that our first year incoming students should take coming into their first semester here. You need at minimum, I believe it's 3.5 or 4 to be considered a full-time student. And then you can take up to 4.5. That is just to help you if you're looking to come in really trying to get some of your web inquiry areas out of the way. That is great. We want to build some opportunity for you to take advantage of as much academically that you can in your first semester. However, at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not jumping so far deep into the pool that we end up drowning ourselves a little bit. By week 2, by week 3, we're really struggling to keep up with our course load. So we highly recommend that students stay within that 3.5 to 4.5 range, at least for the first semester coming in.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of what we were talking about is that while you're trying to arrange your schedule, you can add in a fifth class and then just make sure that you drop the one that you don't need. Because the reality is, as Jason was saying, 4 classes is plenty your first semester because remember, you're adding that Well 100 section. Plus, we want you to get your feet on the ground and go to Spider Fest and do all those cool things that you're going to do your first semester, meeting people and having fun and joining clubs. 4 classes is plenty, believe me.
But what I was saying is that a full load at Richmond is considered 3.5 to 5.5. Anything below that is complicated, and anything above it requires special permission. So that's where the nuance is. But thank you for asking that clarification question. I'm sure you helped many people by asking that.
Absolutely. We got an orientation question right on. What should we expect on orientation? What are we doing with our parents? Will we be walking around campus or will information be given in a lecture room? How should families prepare? Really great. Yes, yes, and yes to all of the above. So, when it comes to things you can expect as far as doing it with your parents, or what you're doing in orientation with your parents, families, supporters are invited to our university welcome. It's and for everyone who is in attendance on behalf of you as a student or you as students. And then the next thing that you will do, and the final thing that you will do with your families and supporters is a lunch, I believe, on the very next day. After those two events take place, that is all that you will be doing with your parents, families, supporters, anyone who is here as a guest of yours. From that point on, we ask guests to explore either Richmond or make their way back to wherever home is for you all. Students will continue going through their orientation journey on their own. It is going to be a combination of some sitting in classrooms, some sitting in more auditorium-like spaces. There will be plenty of walking around, plenty of social activities as well for the evening times to help keep you occupied. You're going to be moving and grooving. As far as how families should prepare, families and supporters, you should look on our website to kind of there's a list of frequently asked questions and recommendations for our families and supporters if you would like to visit that. We can also send it out in a follow-up email to everyone who is in attendance in our webinar this evening. But that is a snapshot of what you can expect in those areas for orientation. As far as actually, Jimmy, what you got?
Just one other thing is there's also a lot of scheduled downtime throughout. So if students are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, homesick, wanting to connect with people that they've met, there's a lot of opportunities to do that, or even to just walk around campus, get a bite to eat, play sports. The weather's wonderful in August. So there's a lot of opportunities for free time as well.
All right,
Can I chime in and go backwards to a previous question?
please.
I
Yes.
just checked with our wonderful registrar who's told me that when you get off the wait list, you get an email and you're given 12 hours to get on it. So just so that you know. But as we said, the email itself tells you everything you need to know. So just A, check your email, B, read your email, and C, act on your email.
If you get nothing else from this webinar, that right there, not even in just terms of academic advising, anything, especially as you're entering your first semester here at the University of Richmond. Exactly what did you know you just shared. How do I complete an override for a class tomorrow morning? I do believe you need special permission from the professor or instructor of the class and a registrar human, if I'm not mistaken. Jimmy?
You'll also be granted an override code, which you can enter in, and it will provide the override in Bannerweb.
But it's unlikely to happen quickly tomorrow morning. Dean Bowman, you want to kick in? I see you're vehement.
You got it. I was just agreeing vehemently.
Let's see. Will students who participate in Endeavor/pre-orientation also participate in New Spider orientation? Yes. So your pre-orientation experience is in addition to, not in replacement of. So if you're moving in early, you're just going to get an additional pre-orientation experience with more information and experiences before going into your New Spider orientation, which is where you'll be joined by the remaining first year class. Can you please send a recording of this very helpful webinar? Fun fact, all of our webinars from the New Spider Summer Series 2025 are up and ready and available in our YouTube channel under New Spiders. Just look it up in YouTube. It'll be there. Come by the end of this week, you will have this webinar uploaded and captioned and ready to go for your viewing pleasure whenever you may need that information.
There's also a really helpful one on registration that if you wanted to view tonight, that could be really helpful.
Absolutely. Let's see. Is 5 credit hours too many for a freshman? I have 5 because of the language.
I honestly, this is where there are rules of thumb, and then there's just taking advantage of the many resources like your advisor and your deans. Um, some 4 classes are incredibly heavy, some 5 classes are doable. So I think you need to look at what you have. Is it balanced? And I think you should share, you go over your schedule with your advisor, contact one of us or our offices. We're happy to talk through the specifics of your situation. We just want you to enjoy your first semester. And as Dean Bowman said, adjusting to college is like your 5th class in a lot of ways, right? So we're giving you some rules of thumb, but also you know yourself, and there are many resources who can give you very specific guidance based on your specific situation versus our rules of thumb.
Yeah, one of the things I say to my summer advisees is that my role is to advise you, not to tell you. And so a lot of this is choose your own adventure. But we're just trying to give you some guidance just based on experience. We've all worked here, we've worked with a ton of students, and so that's why we put it out there that 4 is probably a good thing. But you.
Very true. Next question. As a transfer, I haven't heard from any advisor other than my general summer advisor. I filled out a form to be set up with someone a couple months ago. Am I right to still be waiting? That is a better question for Andrea Vest, who works in our Academic Advising Resource Center. She also works very closely with our transfers that we have incoming at the University of Richmond. I've got your name down here. I'm going to have her reach out to you at her earliest convenience. But also, from my understanding, you should only have heard from your general summer advisor at this point. You will hear more from other folks once you come join us on campus. All of your orientation programming will be specific to things that we're required to offer you here at the University of Richmond. But then also, when it comes to you splitting apart from our first year student class and your first year here at Richmond, you will have transfer specific programming in which you'll be connected with all the humans and all the resources that you will need to kind of help you transition to our institution. Joe, do you have something more to add there? Right on. Cool. Let's see. I believe I answered this one, but just to clarify, yes. So, are there any notable differences for transfers/freshmen during orientation? Yes, there's our first year students, our traditional, I guess you call them freshmen, here on campus programming, and then there is transfers or like first year students here at the University of Richmond. Everyone has to attend the required programming. However, there are tracks that are specific to the students who belong in each of those categories. Next question, I have a language permit override. What does that mean for registration? Someone who's more experienced than me with advising maybe would be better answering this.
I'm not recognizing what you're asking from that language. Either you can place out due to an AP or something else like that, and that just means you've placed out. You either don't have to take the first beginner, or you don't have to take it at all. Dean Bowman, have you ever heard the language permit override?
No, not like that. Usually, from my experience, you, like Dean Giannone said, you test out with your AP. You take the placement test, and it says that you've placed out. And you don't have to take a language class, or you have a disability accommodation of some form, and that could be that you take it pass fail, or that you have to take course substitutions. So it really is. That's kind of a different one. So I think the bottom line is that if you have any question or any doubt, you don't need to register for a language class your first semester. It is something that you can work with your advisor. You could send a question to your summer academic advisor, as Jason's been saying, and we might be able to help you out to figure out what the best thing is based on what you have in front of you.
And if the person who submitted that, if you want to write to one of us and forward us you have, or put more information into it, I just think you're using a shorthand that we're not necessarily recognizing what it is.
Agreed. The only other thing that I could think of is if, like Dean Bowman and Dean Giannone have said, if you had taken a test and you have received information as far as which class you've been accepted into or placed into, whatever information you received as far as registering for that class, if that's the permit override as far as like being allowed to register for that course that you were assigned, then that just means you're going to register for that class using that information, and you're going to be allowed to register for it. All right. We got a question for the deans. When you say 4 classes, does that include FYS and Wellness 101?
Short answer is yes and no. The Well 100 class does not count for a unit. All right, that's a graduation requirement. It doesn't have a unit with it. So that does not count towards one of your 4. However, FYS does count towards one of your 4 classes. So you should have been registered in an FYS class and some other class. If that's the case, then you're going to be adding 2 more classes for a unit. That could be something in a potential major. It could be an area of inquiry course. It could be a whole bunch of things. And then after you get up to 4 units, then you would add a Well 100 section.
So the 3.5 to 5.5 is for unit bearing classes, right? So most of your primarily academic classes, 3.5 to 5.5. The wellness classes are very important. They're part of your requirement, but they're not going to have numerical value. They have all sorts of other value, but not numerical value.
I'm going to speak to this most recent question just very quickly since we're right here. The Well 100 classes meet several times on each of the 5 days of the school week slash work week. Whenever you go in, you'll see that there are many a section. You just want to find one that works with your schedule. You will, in that the section that you select, you will meet that one time every week until classes end or until the Well 100 ends. And you will need to register for that. Otherwise, you will be automatically placed into a random section that works with your timing on your schedule. So if you have a preference for a section, register for that tomorrow morning. Otherwise, you can wait and see what the powers that be end up doing for you.
And if we register you for you and you kick yourself out, we're going to put you back in, and then you're going to put you back in. So just A, try to pick the time that works for you, and B, we're going to notice and you're going to be put back in. So there's that too.
It's no avoiding taking that class, friend. This is our last remaining question. We've got, if I waive student health insurance but have my full outstanding balance paid in full, which included an insurance fee, is a refund issued? And if so, when and where would I see it? So we've got a whole webinar regarding student health services here at the university that we had earlier during the summer. I don't immediately know the answer to this question, but Julie, what I can do is I can try and find it for you, or you can try and go and find it in the YouTube video that we have of the recording of that. I'm not sure if anyone has some perspective to add to this question, but that one's a little tough. Sorry.
I think the number one thing is the Bursar runs all these questions, like runs all accounts, student accounts or the Bursar. So you can email them. Everything's on the website, and they'll tell you both. They'll confirm that you're getting a refund to make sure everything's in order and tell you a timeline. And you can also call them. They're super helpful.
Alrighty. We've got the alcohol education online thing. Where do I find that? I lost the email. It's in your Blackboard. Go to Blackboard. You should be able to find it on Blackboard. Bella, I will send you where to find that. Bella's one of my advisees. Bella, I got you. Don't worry. I will send that to you directly. Let's see. Just to clarify, in total, including the FYS and pre-registered class, that's not my FYS, but my other class. Is that process? Oh, hold on. Let me see. How many units will the system allow me to register for?
It should allow you to register for 5 classes, up to 5.5 units. So it will let you do that. Now, what we've been saying is that it's a good idea for 4.5 units, but I believe it will let you register for up to 5.5 units.
Cool. I'm going to answer these really quickly. What is Blackboard and where can we access our Blackboard? Blackboard is the platform that we use for, well, I actually, do you have some better language for this? Because I use it in my capacity, but deans, do y'all?
Student information system. It's the way that you access all of the classwork from your professors. You can take tests, all kinds of great stuff.
It's pretty important. If you look up University of Richmond, just go to our main website. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there'll be a number of icons, a number of links at the very bottom of that web page. You will see Blackboard there. Click on Blackboard. It will lead you to a login page. Joe?
And even quicker, up at the top, you have tools. And you drop on tools, and one of those tools is going to be Blackboard.
Jason, shall I share my screen and show them a Blackboard class? Would that be helpful?
Sure, Dr. Giannoni, that would be really, really great if you decided to do that.
Why, thank you, Jason. So this was my last year's FYS. I'm teaching the same one this year, but this class is done, so you can see it. So this is, you log in, you get a home page, you pick the class you want. It looks different, a little bit different for me because I'm the professor and I only have the one class as opposed to the rest of you. But when you go in, you can see it's basically like your the course hub, right? So for instance, along the side, I am sharing, right? You guys didn't just let me keep talking. Okay. Right? You can click on the syllabus. It'll download it. Right? Woo, it's my syllabus. Hooray. Then, for instance, here are all the course documents. So mine is always visual. So you go in here. Let me actually, that was a bad one. I have my image list for you. I've given you that. These are the images that I've shown in class. So I put these up after class. It has assignments. These are all your readings. These are the instructions for your final paper, that sort of thing. Professors, I use it relatively minimally. Some professors also use it to put on grades and various other things. There are many different options. But it really is just, it'll be open at a certain point. Your professor will open it when it's ready. And that's where you can find your syllabus and everything else. It's pretty user-friendly. And you can, as always, if you have a question, your professor is the right one to ask. If you have a course-related question, don't hesitate to ask them. Thus ends the excitement of my screen sharing.
Amazing. So grateful to have an impromptu Blackboard overview tutorial. Alrighty. I believe we've answered all the questions. Does anyone
Well,
Oh,
there's one about, will advisors be checking emails tonight? I can't guarantee. I was going to type it, and I'm like, nah, there's probably more people want to know this. I can't guarantee it. Some of us will be checking emails. I check emails in the morning, and I'm up way earlier than most of y'all. But some of us are up later and might be checking it, but not everybody does. All you can do is give it a shot, and I would also recommend go back and check that webinar that's on the New Spiders website. That is really helpful for folks.
I agree. That is probably going to be your best bet if you have remaining questions. The webinar is an hour long, but it's an hour long worth of content that is so important and so helpful for you to know before going in tomorrow morning. There's another question here that says, this may have been answered, but how do I drop my pre-registered class? That's not my FYS, but my other class. Is that process tomorrow? That process is tomorrow. But what I'll say to that one, you can go back and watch this on YouTube if you need to. But what I will say is for tomorrow, you don't have to worry about dropping that class immediately. Go ahead and register for the classes that you will need and that you do want, or try and register for the classes that you do need and do want. And like both Dean Giannoni, Dean Bowman, and even Jimmy have said, you can drop that class and erase it from your record entirely at a later date. I think tomorrow it's just important for you to get the classes you would like to registered for and then worry about dropping it. Honestly, I don't know if there's a good timeline, but at a later date. That doesn't necessarily have to be a priority for you tomorrow morning.
I would also put in a plug for Jason's Office's great website, not just the great webinar from last week, I believe it was, but there's also the top 5 tips for registration on the New Spiders website. If you haven't looked at it, look at it. Super helpful.
The New Spiders website is a magical place for you all to go to find a lot of this information. So happy we are here right now, but whenever we end this webinar and we're no longer here, just know you can always go to the New Spider webpage, and chances are you will find an answer there in some way, shape, or form. Can you flash the QR code for orientation schedule, please? Absolutely, I can do that. Let me just do that for 5. I'm going to share my screen, go back to this one. Let's go. Let's see. Go back. Orientation schedule right there. I'll leave that up for 5 seconds. In the meantime, I've got another question here that says, does it matter if one of the classes I want conflicts with the one I have that I want to drop?
You won't be able to add that class. because it will show up as a conflict, so they won't let you add that class. So that's one of the instances where you are going to want to drop that class, take that class off before you add in the other one, or do the conditional. Right, Jimmy? Am I right? Do the
Correct.
conditional.
That is the case where in Bannerweb you would check the conditional add drop, and then if it would work out, it would go through.
All right, we've got this one last question because unfortunately we are at the end of our scheduled time together today. This student asks, I have priority registration and on Grad Tracker it says web register. Does that mean I am all set for tomorrow? Yes, it does. You're good. Be still.
Yeah. You have 4 classes in your well 100, you are set.
Good. Alrighty, well, thank you all so much for joining us in this evening or whatever time zone it is for you. We are so excited to welcome you here to campus here in just 2 short weeks. If you have any questions, if you want to screenshot this little screen right here, you will get all of our names and those will be helpful in finding our emails if you would like to contact anyone here from the webinar today. Otherwise, like we mentioned, check out that new Spider page because there's a ton of information for you if you would like to go and search for answers to questions you may have as we wrap up our time together. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our students. We look forward to seeing you here very soon. Thank you so much, everyone.